Welcome to Context 101. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. The world is holding its breath. In living rooms, offices, and bustling city streets, people everywhere are glued to their screens, waiting for the next headline, the next update, the next sign of hope or disaster. Today, January 10, 2026, the international community teeters on the brink of a new era. The date is already etched into history, as uncertainty and anxiety ripple across continents. What began as a strategic realignment has escalated into a direct confrontation. The United States now faces an emboldened BRICS bloc, led by China and Russia. Tensions that simmered for years have finally boiled over, transforming old rivalries into open conflict. The flashpoint is Venezuela, whose recent embrace of BRICS has triggered a crisis threatening global stability. Once a regional issue, Venezuela's decision has become a catalyst for a worldwide standoff, drawing in powers from every corner of the globe. The dramatic capture of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro by U.S. forces just over a week ago has sent shockwaves worldwide. The operation, swift and unexpected, has left the world reeling, with many questioning what comes next. Washington calls it a step to restore democracy. Others see it as a violation of sovereignty, especially as it followed Maduro's meeting with a Beijing envoy. The world is split, with some hailing the move and others condemning it as reckless interventionism. In response, China, Russia, and Iran have assembled a formidable naval force off South Africa, signaling a new era of hardened alliances. Their show of strength is a warning, a declaration that the balance of power is shifting, and that old rules may no longer apply. The message is clear: an action against one is a challenge to all. The unipolar moment of U.S. dominance may be over, replaced by a world where alliances are tested and every move is fraught with risk. This story is about shifting power, the future of international law, and the fragile balance that keeps chaos at bay. As the world stands on a knife's edge, every decision, every alliance, and every act of defiance could tip the scales toward peace or toward a conflict that will define a generation. To grasp today's crisis, we must understand the rise of BRICS. Originally an investment term, BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and later South Africa, became a bloc seeking to reshape a Western-dominated global order. Their goal, not just economic growth, but a greater voice in global governance. Institutions like the New Development Bank were created as alternatives to the IMF and World Bank. The 2024 expansion, adding oil giants like the UAE and Venezuela, transformed BRICS into a political coalition with real clout over energy markets. For Venezuela, joining BRICS offered economic lifelines and diplomatic protection from U.S. pressure. For China and Russia, it was a strategic move, gaining a foothold in America's backyard and challenging U.S. influence in the Western Hemisphere. The expansion marked BRICS's evolution from economic club to global power player. Venezuela's pivot to China and Russia was not a sudden move, but a slow, deliberate response to years of mounting U.S. isolation and economic pressure. As Washington tightened sanctions and cut off access to global financial markets, Caracas found itself increasingly cornered, searching for new partners who could offer both economic relief and political support. China quickly became Venezuela's economic lifeline, investing over $60 billion in the country. Through massive oil-for-loan deals, Beijing provided the cash that kept Caracas afloat, even as Western banks turned their backs. These agreements allowed Venezuela to keep its economy running, despite the mounting international pressure. Today, Venezuela ships around 800,000 barrels of oil every day to China. This steady flow of energy has made stability in Caracas a top priority for Beijing, which now sees Venezuela as a crucial partner in its global energy strategy. But the relationship goes far beyond oil. Chinese firms have poured billions into Venezuela's infrastructure, mining, and telecommunications sectors, building roads, bridges, and digital networks. These investments have made Venezuela a key asset in China's vision for a multipolar world, where no single power dominates. Russia's support, meanwhile, has been more military and diplomatic. Moscow has provided crucial vetoes at the United Nations, supplied advanced weaponry, and sent military advisors to help Maduro's government survive repeated crises and threats of intervention. For Moscow, Venezuela is more than just an ally. It's a strategic foothold in the Western Hemisphere, a way to push back against U.S. influence and project Russian power on the global stage. Venezuela's formal invitation to join BRICS institutionalize these alliances, giving Caracas a seat at the table with emerging global powers and directly challenging Washington's long-standing policy of isolation. This set the stage for today's confrontation, a direct clash of global strategies, with Venezuela at the heart of a new geopolitical contest between East and West. On January 2, 2026, under the cover of darkness, U.S. Special Forces launched a daring raid on President Maduro's heavily fortified compound in Caracas. The world awoke to shocking news. The Venezuelan leader had been captured in a meticulously planned operation. The operation was swift and audacious, with elite teams neutralizing resistance and securing key government sites within minutes. The precision and speed of the assault left little room for response from Maduro's loyalists. This marked a dramatic escalation, moving from years of economic sanctions and diplomatic pressure to direct military intervention. The streets of Caracas erupted in confusion and fear as news spread. The timing, just hours after Maduro met a high-ranking Chinese envoy, was seen as a calculated affront to Beijing, signaling a new phase in global rivalry. Washington's message was unmistakable. America's backyard is off-limits to rivals, and any encroachment will be met with force. The U.S. sought to reassert its dominance in the hemisphere. China and Russia immediately condemned the action at the United Nations, calling it a blatant violation of international law and demanding Maduro's immediate release. Tensions soared in diplomatic circles. The U.S. defended its move as necessary to restore democracy and combat tyranny, insisting that intervention was the only way to end years of authoritarian rule and human rights abuses. The Trump administration's open disregard for international law has polarized global opinion, igniting fierce debate among allies and adversaries alike. Protests erupted in capitals around the world. Venezuela now faces chaos and a dangerous power vacuum, with its BRICS membership and future in global alliances hanging by a thread. The nation teeters on the brink of collapse. For BRICS, the intervention is a test of credibility and resolve, challenging the group's unity and its ability to respond to Western power. The capture of Maduro is more than just regime change. It's a gauntlet thrown in the new great power competition, with global consequences that could reshape alliances. The world watches anxiously, uncertain whether this is the beginning of a wider conflict or a turning point in international relations. Every nation is now forced to take sides. The stakes for global order have never been higher, as the balance of power hangs in the balance and the future remains uncertain. BRICS' response was swift and visible. On January 9th, warships from China, Russia, and Iran arrived at Simonstown, South Africa, for joint naval exercises. Officially anti-piracy drills, the timing and scale make their true purpose clear. A show of force aimed at the United States. Advanced vessels like China's Tangshan destroyer and Russia's Stoichi corvette underscore the seriousness of intent. Iran's participation unites three of Washington's main adversaries in a single display of power. South Africa, the host, faces criticism at home and abroad for its role, with opposition parties warning of diplomatic fallout. The U.S. has condemned the drills, seeing them as a hostile act and a direct response to its intervention in Venezuela. The crisis has transformed a regional dispute into a global military standoff. The crisis has thrown global energy security into turmoil. Venezuela's vast oil reserves are now at the center of a geopolitical storm, with China's energy supply and billions in loans at risk. The U.S. intervention sets a dangerous precedent, removing a sitting head of state without UN approval, undermining international law. Critics warn this erodes the principles that prevent global conflict. U.S. seizures of oil tankers, including Russian vessels, have been denounced as piracy, threatening freedom of navigation and global trade. The economic fallout could disrupt supply chains and spike costs worldwide. The crisis tests BRICS' unity. Can the bloc protect its members and challenge Western power? The outcome will define BRICS' future and the shape of the emerging world order. The world is sharply divided. The U.S. has cautious support from some Western allies, but many are uneasy about the precedent of unilateral military action. BRICS, led by China and Russia, has condemned the intervention, presenting a united front at the UN. The crisis has deepened Beijing and Moscow's strategic partnership, with joint naval drills as a visible countermove. Nations are being forced to choose sides, accelerating the formation of rival blocs. Countries like India, Brazil, and South Africa are caught in the middle, balancing economic ties with both camps. The conflict is also reshaping perceptions of military power, with the US operation in Caracas contrasted against Russia's struggles in Ukraine. The world now faces a clash of doctrines and alliances, with global stability hanging in the balance. Experts see the US intervention as a high-stakes gamble, toppling a hostile regime, disrupting China's influence, and projecting American strength. But the move risks uniting adversaries, alienating allies, and dragging the US into another quagmire. For China, the stakes are existential. Losing Venezuela would be a public humiliation and a threat to its global ambitions. Beijing cannot afford to appear weak, lest Washington challenge its interests elsewhere. For Russia, the crisis is both a blow and an opportunity to expose US unilateralism and lead an anti-hegemonic coalition. The crisis marks the end of the unipolar era. What comes next is dangerously uncertain. The old guardrails, international law, the UN, are eroding, creating a power vacuum. Without urgent dialogue, the world is on a perilous path. We stand at a perilous crossroads, a moment that will shape the future. The events in Venezuela are more than headlines. They signal a fundamental shift in global power. The world order that kept a fragile peace since World War II is under immense strain. Competing alliances are consolidating, and the fallout will touch every nation. The urgent need is for de-escalation and dialogue. Great powers must recognize their security is intertwined. This is a time for statesmanship, not brinkmanship, a recommitment to international law and peaceful coexistence. The alternative is a descent into global anarchy, where might makes right. The choice is ours, to navigate this new reality without plunging into conflict or risk the collapse of global peace.